Now, the building safety manager. Now, this is not a mandatory thing, but I'm suggesting to you that this is what we could help you do. We could take the place of a building safety manager. But I want to be clear, this is not a legal requirement for you to have a building safety manager. This is someone that you would have to assist you to make you compliant with the law. But I would summarize the building safety manager's job as answering two questions. Can the safety risks be clearly identified and efficiently identified? And secondly, can evidence be shown for how those risks are managed? Remember what I've said about evidence. This is all about evidence, okay? The other thing that the building safety manager will be responsible for is competency. It's competency around individuals that are involved in making that building safe. Not only his or her own competence, but competence of those around them. And there's a new PAS document that the BSI has issued, PAS 8673, which is the competency framework for those who are managing buildings. And it just goes through a number of practices and issues that we need to be aware of. It talks about risk management. It talks about the golden thread of information and how you should manage it. It talks about communication, which is a really important part of the process. So it suggests how all of this should be managed. Okay, so just be aware of the competency framework that government has issued more recently. Then we have some of the roles and responsibility that comes out of this bit of legislation. I've just knocked up a relatively quick and simple diagram here. I'm hoping this explains it for you. But right at the top there, if you can see, you've got the health and safety executive, but where the building safety regulator sits, he or she is housed, if you like, in the health and safety executive. Now, that building safety regulator has a number of inspectors and also will, if you like, assess inspectors as well. They will have a role in making sure that approved inspectors are properly assessed and have the correct competence for any work that they do. But notice on the left-hand side, coming out of the building safety regulator, are these three boxes. The resident panel, where residents will be feeding in directly to the building safety regulator. And I want you to understand this, that a resident in your building will have the ability to go direct to the building safety regulator and raise an issue that is concerning them. If you followed anything of the Grenfell disaster, you might have picked up that people were trying to tell those with responsibility for the building that they thought a fire was likely to happen and they did not feel they were being listened to. Well, this resident panel is specifically to address that concern. Then we've got a committee on industry competence, because quite frankly, there isn't just one issue that caused the disaster at Grenfell. There's an awful lot of bodies involved. It wasn't just the fire service. It wasn't just the local authority. It's the way that even building practices have taken place, the materials that are being used. So you can see that this committee on industry competence and the building advisory committee, they're focused on the industry and helping it to improve its competence and improve the way it does things. So making sure that the standards of, if you like, education, understanding about what you're doing when you're putting a building together, and making sure that the practices are as they should be, are done through the Committee on Industry Competence and the Building Advisory Committee. Now, the legislation identifies this principal accountable person, a PAP, okay? And this is the person that, if you like, could be fined under the legislation. And the legislation also talks about a prison term if they do not meet their legal duties. So clearly government sees it as a serious thing, and they want to ensure that people are truly engaged with this. So it's important that you do understand your responsibilities, and it's important that you take those responsibilities seriously. Now, the building safety manager I've just outlined to you is not a mandatory position, but it just would maybe sit between yourself and all of the professions that I've got at the bottom, so that you can actually ensure that you've got a building that is as safe as it possibly can be for the users of your building. So I'm talking about professionals like fire engineers, structural engineers, facade engineers, your fire door service, and people that do your risk assessments. All of this will need to be managed, all the information. And don't forget, there's competent contractors that will be coming into your building. And you just need to make sure that all of the information that comes through is done in a way that makes it clear that your building is as safe as it can be, and that you, as the PAP, fully understand your building. Okay. So I've just talked to you about some of the roles and responsibilities in that diagram, but just understand that there is a national regulator that will be responsible for construction products. Because, like I said to you earlier, this is not just about the local authority or the fire service failing in their duties. This is about a whole industry that has really gone wrong and needs to be put right. And so construction products, they need to be looked at very, very closely and managed very closely. And if you've followed the Grenfell disaster and understood what's happened, you'll understand that the materials, the products, are part of the problem. You have to understand that there are duty holders under this legislation. Designers, principal designers, contractors, they all have roles and responsibilities. They've got responsibilities already under CDM, and those responsibilities carry through as far as this legislation is concerned. But you have responsibilities to make sure that people are competent to do the job that you need them to do. You need to understand the new resident rights. You need to understand that someone in the block can bypass you and go directly to the building safety regulator and raise an issue. That's important. And you shouldn't be surprised about that, which is why I keep on stressing the need for the resident engagement. It's important that people feel that they can raise issues, and those issues can percolate to the top, and you will deal with them, and they can see that they are being dealt with. And the golden thread information that I've told you about, it needs to be accessible. The residents need to be able to see that, yeah, there is a risk assessment, and it has been carried out recently, and this is what it says. There's no reason why a resident shouldn't be able to view any of the golden thread documents.